I, like millions of other people on this planet, are a chronic overthinker. But the other day I realized something. Maybe the world isn't always trying to tell me something. And maybe I'm searching for meaning in places where it's a little irrational. And realizing it honestly felt like a breath of fresh air. I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Like everything that happened to me wasn't always something that I had to decode. Today, we're talking about meaning. Why humans are obsessed with it, what happens when we assign too much of it, what happens when we assign none of it, and ultimately, to answer the question, does everything need to have meaning? Or at least I'm gonna try. If you're anyone like me, who enjoys analyzing books, TikToks, movies, and TV shows, you can understand how easy it is for this interpretation to seep into your everyday life. A friend of mine and I can literally spend hours decoding the way that someone opened the door a little too slowly for us, or said have a nice day after giving us our coffee. Trust me, no one understands the art of overanalyzing like I do. Which naturally brings me to the irony of this video, because this topic is wildly ironic, considering that my entire YouTube personality is sitting here talking about other people's social media posts and decoding the messages behind that. But honestly, who better understands the culture of overthinking and assigning meaning than a teenage girl who spends hours a week talking to herself in her car? Humans are prone to make meaning out of nothing. We take chaos and turn it into a narrative structure because our brains crave pattern. But it can become a mental trap, as assigning too much meaning can lead to overthinking, spiraling, and delusion. When every minor event becomes an interpretive puzzle, we find ourselves reacting to symbolism instead of reality, and meaning becomes less about insight and more about distortion. We drive ourselves crazy, picking apart punctuation in text, the difference between okay and okay. But why do we do this? Here's the thing. Humans don't find meaning, we make it. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, in his work Man's Search for Meaning, argued that meaning is not optional for human well-being, it's essential. Not because the universe gives it to us, but because we assign it to ourselves. As humans have evolved, finding patterns have helped us survive. We need meaning not because the universe demands it, but because we do. In part, it's because finding meaning gives us the illusion of control. If there's a hidden message, then the chaos isn't actually chaos. It allows us to think that maybe life is scripted, and it's our job to decode it. This mindset can be comforting, because it allows you to think that nothing bad ever can truly happen to you, and rejection is just redirection, but this comfort comes at a cost. Eventually, we start seeing meaning where it doesn't actually exist. There's also a social factor to this, because humans love storytelling, and stories require significance. When we narrate our lives to others, or even to ourselves, there's a certain pressure to make things feel cohesive, poetic, or even impressive. Nobody wants their life to be accidental. We want character arcs, we want symbolism, which often means attributing meaning where there isn't any, just because the alternative feels too accidental or boring. In psychology, this is often linked to what's called apophenia, the tendency to perceive patterns that aren't there. Philosophically, it echoes what Kierkegaard warned against, the anxiety that comes from constantly trying to understand ourselves so deeply that we forget to actually live. When everything's symbolic, everything's consequential. But once everything's consequential, life just becomes so stressful. Suddenly, the world isn't just yours to live in, it's everyone else's, but all of their actions have an impact on you. This doesn't lead to enlightenment, it leads to paralysis. And the most messed up part is oftentimes the world isn't trying to communicate with you. The text you got with punctuation doesn't mean they're mad at you, and you didn't break your leg because of some big cosmic reason. Some things just are. Now looking at the other side of the spectrum, nihilism. The worldview where nothing means everything. Events are random, choices are arbitrary, life is a cosmic accident. Now, there's a certain freedom in this, because if nothing really matters, you can't make a mistake. Nothing's embarrassing, nothing holds any weight, and you never follow down the wrong path, because there was never a right one for you in the first place. But this is also its own method of delusion, because without meaning, life feels hollow. Your sadness, yeah, but so does your accomplishments, your relationships, your goals. Time passes, but nothing ever actually happens. This detachment can often feel like emotional safety, because if nothing has meaning, nothing can truly ever hurt you. You can't be disappointed by people, or outcomes, or relationships, because none of it meant anything in the first place. You don't have to try, and you don't have to hope. But to hope, as philosophers have pointed out for centuries, is to be vulnerable. Because it means to believe in something matters more than the possibility of its loss. And meaninglessness can feel safe, until it's isolating. Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre argued that the absence of inherent meaning isn't liberating by default, it's destabilizing. Camus famously described the absurd, the uncomfortable tension between our desire for meaning and the universe's silence. Ultimately, the problem isn't meaninglessness itself, it's the extreme. Humans need just enough meaning to care and move on, because without it, we absorb ourselves into a life of apathy. And apathetic living is just as destructive as overanalysis, just in quieter, more subtle ways. And in the age of social media, of course, our relationship to meaning has gotten a lot more complicated, shown perfectly in main character syndrome. It's the belief, or at least the performance, that your life is a movie. Everyone else is a side character or an NPC. It's fun, it's flattering, and it's definitely romantic, but it directly feeds into this idea that everything in your life must have meaning. When everything in your life is a plot twist or foreshadowing, meaning doesn't become a tool, it becomes a requirement. And the more you commit to the role, the more pressure you feel to make every moment feel symbolically significant. The irony is, both extremes, main character syndrome and nihilistic detachment, are both coping mechanisms for the same fear, the uncertainty of not knowing what anything means. So, does everything need to have meaning? Meaning shouldn't be everywhere, but it also shouldn't be nowhere. It should be intentional. Not every spilled drink is a sign, not all coincidences are destiny, and not all breakups are a redirection of your energy flow. Sometimes a guy's just an asshole. But certain things should have meanings. Your relationships, your values, the moments you choose to hold on to. And the funny thing about meaning is it doesn't need to be universal or real. It just needs to mean something to you. This is what modern philosophers call subjective meaning. Meaning you create because it enriches your life, not just because it theoretically could exist somewhere out there in the cosmic sphere. Give meaning to the things that make your life fuller, kinder, and more connected, and let everything else just exist. Not everything has to be profound, but sometimes a little meaning, chosen, not forced, can make everything worth living. Alright, thanks for watching. That's all I have. If you think you found meaning in this video, that's on you, but let me know down below. Remember to like, subscribe, and interpret my video how you so see fit. See you next week.